Hi there! Welcome to my channel. How's March going on for you? Caught between appraisal discussions and tax filing? Well, consider yourself supremely blessed because the alternate situation could have been much worse. Like fighting to wear good clothes.
Ow!
Trying to get rights for yourself so that you can wear shoes.
Huh?
Getting punished for using public transportation.
Oh my god.
And getting flogged because you were walking on the road just because a police officer did not like it. My dear viewers and friends, these are exactly some of the things Indians had to face before 1947 when the country was under the rule of the British Empire. And it is because of the rigorous, dedicated fights of so many freedom fighters across the communities of India that the country could become finally free. And today you and I are at a liberty to complain about bigger things like appraisal discussions and tax filing. So March might be a month of great trial and tribulation for you because you've got to face your boss in the appraisal discussion, worry about the performance ban and increment, and on the other hand, you're also worrying about whether your tax filing is happening on time or not. But remember, 75 years ago, until 75 years ago that is, there were other things to worry about so that you and I could be in this stage. And that's what we're going to cover in this March roundup of the great tribal warriors of Bharat. In this video and in this episode, we're going to look at the trials and tribulations faced by some of the tribal warriors that they underwent in the month of March until 75 years ago, up to 1947. And this is by no means an exhaustive list because it's based on this book, The Great Tribal Warriors of Bharat, of which I am a co-author. 7 March 1854. British resident G.C. Mansell was waiting at his office in Nagpur anxiously for any update from the office of the Governor General Lord Dalhousie. Because you see, a few weeks ago, the King of Nagpur had passed away after prolonged illness and he did not name any heir apparent. So the royal family was under the impression that just like the previous times, this time as well, they would get the opportunity to select an heir from within themselves. One of them was going to become the next king. But on the other hand, Mansell had received strict instructions from Dalhousie not to let any such appointment happen. And the decision, the future of Nagpur finally came in a telegram on 7th of March 1854 when Dalhousie issued orders for annexation of Nagpur. 7th of March also happens to be the date when Rani Gaidinliu was sentenced to life imprisonment. She was at that time merely 18 years old. Upon arrest, she was first sent to the Kohima jail for 2 months by the then Deputy Commissioner of the Naga Hills District, J.P. Mills, and after that she was deported to Imphal where the political agent of Manipur, John Comyn Higgins, pressed charges of murder and starting a revolt against the British Crown against her. And this happened on the 7th of March 1933, merely 18 years old Rani Gaidinliu. 3 years earlier, in 1930, on the 12th of March, the Dandi Salt Satyagrah had started from the Sabarmati ashram. Simultaneously, miles away in Pune, at a school run by Kasturba Gandhi, a 12-year-old student was intently listening to a letter read out by her teacher. The letter was written by Gandhiji, and in that, he was calling out to all the school's children to step up their efforts in helping the freedom movement. He asked them to go out and sing songs of Satyagraha and spread the message of revolting against the British. This child was none other than Dashriben Chaudhary. All of 12 years, she already had experience with the civil disobedience movement, and so she was all gung-ho about being part of the Salt Satyagraha as well. Moving back in time to several decades to 12th of March 1833, the birth date of Baburao Shedmake, the eldest son of the Gond king of the Molampalli Zamindari in Chanta. 25 years since his birth, he would be spending all that time getting trained as a prince and also getting educated in some of the finest establishments of the region. And by the end of his 25th year, two very significant developments had happened. One, we already know, was the annexation of Nagpur, which lit up hopes of independence of Chanda. And second was the mutiny of 1857, which convinced Baburao Shedmake that that was the right time for Chanda to revolt against the British and assert its independence. And so he did. Together with his cousins, he set up an army, and one of the most stunning victories that he had was in the following year, in 1858, that is, following year of the mutiny, so 1858, when he defeated the British army at the Nandgaon-Ghoshari stretch of region away from Nagpur, and the army was led by the Deputy Commissioner of Nagpur, William Kurichiyan. If the sun is true and so is the moon, then it's equally true that Mother India shall soon be free. These were the final words of Laxman Nayak, the freedom fighter from the Bhuya tribe in Orissa, as he took his final walk to the gallows on the morning of 29 March 1943. He had been sentenced to death by hanging for his participation in the Quit India movement. It was a false charge, but they could not overturn the verdict, and so he made his way to the gallows. In the early hours, as he prepared for his final walk, with his head covered in a long black cap and his hands tied behind him, other prison inmates rent the air of jail with chants of Inqilab Zindabad. He uttered his famous words to his executioner and jailer Ramurthy Rao, who had been paid about 25 to 30 rupees for this execution, along with a bottle of wine and a day off to enjoy. The last day of March is of great relief for all of us. But back in 1809, it was a matter of life and death for the cousins and brothers of Erichanakungan, Talakal Chantu and family members of the Parashi Raja. For those of you who already know the story of how Parashi Raja and his tribe of Kurichiyan army had fought the British, you would know that this was a time of great trial for the family members. And if you are not familiar with that story, you're most welcome to read it in this book, The Great Tribal Warriors of Bharat. So, Erichanakungan, the commander-in-chief of the king, Parashi Raja, the king himself, and Talakal Chantu, who was the chief archer in that army, had all fallen in battle while fighting the British. And their family members who were left behind, they were all arrested and were court-martialed against on 31st of March 1809 at Seringapattam. There are records of an appeal, so it is generally believed that they were not hanged to death, but were sentenced to life imprisonment to the Prince of Wales Island. 3 years later, the entire Kurichiyan revolt scenario was once again repeated in a really similar fashion, in the sense that the reason was the same: exorbitantly high rates of taxation, and the roles played out were also the same. There was a new Parashi Raja Kerala Varma, who was the nephew of the old one. There was a commander from the Kurichiyan tribes, and there was a British army officer at the other end trying to crush this rebellion. This time, they had, the Kurichiyans that is, they had a tagline to their revolt, and the war cry was Vattattoppikare Nattal Nindum Purattakadam, which broadly translates to throw out of the country the wearers of the round-shaped cap, meaning the British. That's the roundup from the month of March. I'll see you soon again with the roundup for the month of April. Till then, Jai Hind, Vande Mataram.